you can make tiny amounts of, oh, you guys, my hummingbird's back. I just saw it. Oh, thank goodness. You can also just hold both. Okay, so the 5 things we're going to touch on are cost. Oh. Oh my gosh, Donkey gets the zoomies when he comes in sometimes. Hi, welcome to Fiber Love Diary. I'm Trish if we haven't met, and if we have met, welcome back. How are you? Luther just went out the door. We're doing well. I haven't seen some of you in a while, so I'd love to hear what you're working on. And before we really start, I've got to have a name suggestion. You know, I love coming up with the funny names for the colorways in my shop, but for some reason I'm just drawing a total blank with this one. And John loved it. So if you have a suggestion, it has kind of like a, I don't know if you would call this a green, but it's got kind of like a taupe, purple, and orange. It's pretty cool. I just can't think of anything. It's weird. Sometimes they just come and come and come really quick, and then for this one, whatever reason, I just can't think of one. I think I have 4, and I need a name before I can put it in the shop. It is BFL Silk. I don't know if that makes a difference, but sometimes the base fiber helps me pick a name, so maybe it'll help you. But watch for a short soon where we will vote on the next fleece that I'm going to process from my fleece closet. You saw it, and it will be on TikTok as well. So if you follow me on TikTok as well, perfect. The next week's video is going to be a quick finished project update, and then also I'm going to show you all the sock yarns that I dyed that I'm sending my mom. She's getting another box of sock yarn. The last box was like 16 pounds. I could go back and look, but you know. And this one will be maybe like 6 pounds. So it's all hand dyed this time, except for a couple that I got in the Hobby Lobby clearance. Did you guys go to that clearance? Oh my gosh. Ours happened so fast. I kept going there and it wasn't on clearance, and then all of a sudden it was just like all gone. But you know, in my defense, Hobby Lobby's 25 minutes away, so I don't get there every day. But I digress. Since I'm about to pick another fleece with your help from my fleece closet to go ahead and prep, I'm hoping to get some more spinning done this week also, because I finished a sweater out of stock madness, which I'm so relieved about, you guys. I don't know why I keep signing up. I think I like the challenge. I probably do have just a tiny bit of fear of missing out, because I think, what if the patterns are super awesome? It's finally spring here. I'm going to start working on some outdoor projects. I think I might kind of take you guys along with me a little bit more on that this year. I did a lot last year in our backyard. I have a little more to do back there, and then I'm going to start working on some things out in the outside of our fenced in area. Since I'm getting excited to process another fleece from my closet, it seemed like the perfect time to talk about tools. You all ask me so many questions, and I get questions in my email. I get questions on like Instagram DMs, which I'm horrible at checking, and then just everywhere. So I thought, I'm going to take you through each tool I have for prepping fleece, not just prepping. And then we're going to talk about 5 topics for each one, and I'll go quickly. But this is still probably going to end up being long, so maybe get a cup of tea. Saying. Okay, so the 5 things we're going to talk about are cost, space for storage, and space for use, because they're not the same. What type of prep will it produce? Meaning woolen or worsted, roll eggs, you know, roving. We're going to go all the way to that part. And then the strengths as I see them, and that's only opinions, by the way. And then weaknesses as I see them, again, only opinions. And I'm sure some of you guys will disagree with some of my feelings. And I am okay if you want to say like, okay, I've noticed that, fill in the blank. No problem. Go for it in the comments. I guess we'll start with the least expensive, least, I don't know, fancy. Hang on. This is a flicker brush. You can process a whole fleece with this. And if you want to see videos where I've used every single one of these tools, every tool that I'm about to talk about has appeared in at least one video. Probably all of them have been in more than one. I'll link the playlist. I will look up current costs at Paradise Fibers. They work with me. They are the first company that ever approached me to work with me. I appreciate them and love them so much. So I'm gonna look up the price for each of these things on Paradise's website. When I bought this, it was $25. It was probably in the late 2000s. I'm sure it's more now. It is from Ashford. I really like their products. It is in wonderful shape and it has been used many, many hours. For space, you're looking at it, okay? This is how much space it takes to store. It is very, very little. For space to use, also very, very little. I would say the only thing you really need is like a nice place to sit or stand and something to catch whatever is gonna fall out. So dirt, dust, whatever. What type of prep will it produce? Generally, all you're gonna do is like flick locks with it if you are straight up prepping with this alone. I'm trying to think if there's any. I think that's the main thing that you would do. I can't think of anything else. I've certainly never used it for another type of prep. Its strength is it's tiny, okay? It is as good or better as combing to get VM out of a fleece. So if you have a fleece that is just horribly covered but it's beautiful with tiny specks of whatever, this will take it out. So will combing, but this has a lot less waste. It is also wonderful at taking out shortcuts on the cut tips, cut ends. I guess that's the ends. It is really great for processing like on a budget. It's really great for processing finer things because it will not tear them up. You're using your own strength. You're not just using some machine that's not gonna know what the pull is on it. You're not gonna snap as many fibers. You're not gonna have as much waste. So it is wonderful for that, but its weakness is it is quite labor intensive. It's quite slow, and like when I do it, my hands get sore eventually. So I have to do it in maybe like half-hour sections, which is actually works fine for me because I can like flick a bunch of locks, throw them in a bag, spin them later, you know. I can flick while I watch TV or listen to a book. So it works great for me, but compared to a lot of other methods, it's pretty slow. So that's your flicker brush. Next, I have two sets. Let's hold them up together. And the reason I'm talking about these together is that they are the same tool. They're a different gauge, basically. So these are the Valkyrie Extra Fine hand combs. And these are the Indigo Hound. I think they're just like standard. Let's see, does it say? You can see, I'm going to compare them for you side by side, that the Extra Fine, the tines are thinner, smaller, and much closer together. That's the difference, okay? Also, I have a stand for each. I can't remember if they came with like automatically or if I had to buy these separately. I'm sorry. This is the Valkyrie stand, and what happens is you drop it. There is a hole in the handle and you drop it right in the stand, and then you clamp your stand to whatever you're using. So pretty easy. And then the Indigo Hound one is different, and these could be different now again because I've had both of these for a while. So, and you just turn this to lock it in. You can comb off of this. You can go ahead and clamp this to your table as well and take one comb and comb off of it. You can also just hold both combs in your hands. Again, there's video of me doing this lots of times. I bought both sets of these used, but they were barely touched. I think I paid $80 for these, and I paid about $100 for these with the stands and everything. For space, you can see these are not too bad. These all go in one of the dresser drawers in my big tall table with their little stands. So they do not take up a crazy amount of space for storage. For use, you do need a little bit more space, especially if you're going to clip them to a table and comb off a static comb, meaning one that is sitting still and static, and then you're just using one. But you still need space even if you're holding both combs, because these suckers will puncture you, and I'm not joking. Get your tetanus shot. These tines are very, very sharp and they will get you. So you need to make sure you're not too close to another person and that you have enough room for your arms to completely clear the different combs, etc. Still not crazy, still a very space conservative tool to use, and very helpful and useful. Obviously, that's why I still have 2 sets. I'm gonna talk about that at the very end of the combs too, so why I still have 2 sets. This will produce, well, you can blend like a hackle. I have done that in some videos for prep. You can also produce true worsted top from these. When I say true worsted, I'm talking about you comb it, you plank it, which means you keep all the tip and butt ends going the same direction. Reload your combs, do it again. That is a true traditional worsted top. However, you can also do it where you let the ends go willy-nilly, but you comb it really nicely, pull it off. You can spin directly off these. So the strengths, I think, are that if you have a very long fleece or a very fine fleece, these are really, really good to get out every little noil, every little piece and speck of VM, every little tiny shortcut. Comb top is very fun to spin. If you like worsted yarns, you really can't beat either of these. Well, you can't beat this one. We'll get to that at the end. If you have a really long fleece that's really too long to card or too hair-like to card, like maybe Surrey alpaca, these are great for that. The weakness, in my opinion, is that there's a lot of waste, and you always, I mean, you can expect, I've heard up to 60% waste, but I think I probably hover more between 30 and 40% waste, which is a lot. I'm sure some of you are like, do I actually need the more coarse comb and then the finer comb? Okay, this is an opinion only. I say no. When I bought these were so back ordered, you could not buy them. Last, I know some of you are gonna be like, hey, why do you have both? Do you need both? When I bought these first, you could not get these. They were so back ordered, they were like not available, and people weren't selling them used either because they were holding on to them. So I bought these. These are as good, but they're good for like more coarse wools. They're too far apart to really get in there and comb a really fine fleece. So I can't use these for that. Honestly, why do I still have them? I don't know. I guess I just found it hard to part with them, and also they're so easy to like store, and you know, they don't take up an amount of space that I feel like I need to reclaim, so I never really even thought about selling them. I do like them too, obviously, or I would have sold them right away. But now you can get these. They're not so back ordered, and they're available almost all the time. I think now you can pretty much buy them. So I personally, if I was going to buy a set, would just buy these and use them for everything, because you can put a coarser wool on here, and these are just not as good for the fine ones. So that's my opinion. Again, do your thing. You do you. I love it. It's fun. So that is everything about the combs, okay? Let me grab my hand cards. I was like, what's next? Hand cards. Here are the Howard hand cards. These are my hand carding cards, whatever. My mom won these and gave them to me. I do not know what the TPI is on these cards, but I mean, if you look, hang on, let's get you in focus. It is quite fine. It does not say on the card that it's like a fine, it just says the original, okay? She won these in about, must have been 2008. And she was like, I'm not spinning, so do you want them? And I was like, yes. I already had my Ashford standard Drumcarder at the time, but space, they are so easy to store. This is it. They just take up that tiny, tiny bit of space. Use is the same amount of space about as you need for the combs, because you will be, you know, so you need to be able to swing your arms around, but that's about it. Again, you probably want something underneath you to catch junk that's gonna fall out, but you don't need a ton of space to use these. What type of prep will it produce? Okay, you can do a lot with these. A lot of people don't know everything you can do. I'm sure I don't know everything you can do. You can make traditional roll legs. I have done it. Go to the prep list. You can make tiny amounts of roving on these. You would do it the same way you would with a blending board. You can spin directly off these. You can make like tiny little bats with these. So you can do a lot of different things that would be considered a woolen prep with these. I'm trying to think. So roll legs, you can make poonies on these. A lot of people ask the difference between a roll leg and a poonie. So a traditional roll leg is very, very loose. It's usually like a layer from each of these laid on top of each other and then rolled like this. So it just like makes this fluffy little sausage. It's wonderful. And a poonie would be where it was pulled tight. So what people often call roll legs now is more of a poonie style thing. It's gotten complicated because the names, and this is normal over time, the names that we use for certain types of prep and whatever kind of like change over time as the usage changes, and that's fine. It's okay. It just makes it more confusing for those of us who are like old school. I can't say that I am old school, but I do know the old school terms and stuff. So that's pretty much what you can do with these. I love mine. These are really good ones, but I'm sure you can get a great pair from Ashford, wherever. So don't think you have to have Howard's. Strengths. So if you want to make traditional roll legs, really true traditional roll legs, I don't think there's anything that can do a truly adequate job. I really don't. I guess you might be able to do it with a blending board, kind of, but it would not be the same. So in my opinion, if you want a traditional roll leg, there's no better way. Also, they're very affordable compared to, you know, some of the bigger tools. Tiny and portable, just like the combs and the flicker brush. Weakness, you cannot get vegetable matter or shortcuts out with these. You can like have them kind of come to the surface a bit and pick them out better as you straighten the wool out, but it doesn't pull them out the way that the flicker and the combs do. So it's probably going to get locked in there. I mean, unless it's a big chunk, it's probably going to get locked in there. That's not always bad because it means you have a lot less waste. So that's kind of a strength and a weakness. That's pretty much it. I do love my hand cards. That's why I still have all these tools, you guys. They all have a use that nothing else will do quite as well. Okay, blending board is next. Let me get it. Okay, next we have our blending board. You're all very familiar. We've seen millions of them. The cost I will put on the screen. I have to look it up because I've had mine for before we moved here, I think. This one is an Ashford. Oh, you can see. Again, I love their tools. I love their wheels. I think they're amazing. Space and storage. I actually keep mine. What are we doing, Bo? My friend. I actually keep mine in the box with the brush that's like a packing brush basically that comes with it, or came with it when I bought it, and the dowels, and there's a little piece that you can screw into the back that'll make it stand up. So, and also if you're using this in your lap and you screw that piece to the back, it will help you hold it and keep it from moving around while you're doing stuff with it. So it's pretty handy. This is the box I keep it in. Actually, I'll show it to you. And it's kind of big, but it's very flat, so I just have it on a shelf up against the wall. It takes up very little space. And to use, I mean, you can do it in your lap, or you need table space that you can use it on. So it's not horrible, but you do need a little bit of space to use it. What type of prep will it produce? So I've done this on my channel a lot, right? I've done tons of the more puni style roll eggs. I've done roll logs, so it's like the whole entire board. Again, it's more of a faux thing. You can blend colors and pull a roving off of this. You can take a bat off of it. I don't know if I've ever done that in a video, but I think that's pretty self-explanatory, because once it's full, you just pull it off like you would off a drumcarder. So you can do a lot, but all of those would be considered woolen preps, because the only worsted prep is combed. That's it. Once you disorganize the fibers from combed configuration, it's woolen. That's it. Sorry. Strengths. It's pretty affordable comparatively, so that's a good one. It doesn't take a huge amount of space to store. It's quick and easy to set up. If you do store it, take it out, put it away, take it out, put it away, because you know, some of the things that we have, if we have to put them together, put handles and different parts together to use them, we won't do it as often. So it's very easy to set up, take down, take apart, and put away. It's really nice. And it's really a bigger surface if you want to blend things. And because you're not going to, as you would with the cards, you're not going to run over and over the surface to blend things. You can be more intentional about where you're placing color. You can really see the whole space. It's pretty neat. So that's one of the strengths as well. I think if you're blending, if you're trying to use like locks or things where you want to be very intentional about where they are, this is great for that. Weaknesses, I would say that you can only do so much at a time. So I don't know, what would you guys say you can fit on these? Like 1 ounce usually, probably, maybe 2 at the most. It has pretty long teeth, so you can make it pretty thick. I think that's the main weakness. I can't really think of anything else because you can do so much with it. Okay, here's a weakness that I just thought of. If you're going to use fleece that you've washed yourself, you can process it on one of these, but it's difficult and stuff is not going to fall out, again, just like the cards. So like if I was going to do that, I would not put it directly on here unless I had at least flicked it out first. It is not getting anything out. It's really a blending thing. That's why they call it a blending board. It's really not for like, it's that processing in the sense of getting out noils, getting out shortcuts, getting out neps. It's not for that. So that's my blending board, and we have got to move to the drumcarders now. I'm gonna have to turn you around. I hope there's enough light on this. They're gonna be backlit a little bit. We'll just do our best. So drumcarders, I have a hand crank carder, which is my classic carder. I flip and love it. It's really awesome. In fact, I plan to do some bat videos very, very soon. I'm kind of getting the itch to get back to it in that sense and make some bats. And then I have my Strouch Finest. So this one is motorized, and I've had multiple motorized carders in the past. This one is the one that right now I've been using the most, unless I have a super ultra fine fleece to process. This one is 90 TPI. I bought, again, the middle of the road as far as teeth per inch. It still really easily twirls, spins, makes beautiful bats. I'm very happy with it. So the cost, I believe it was like $800 and something. I did make a video on it recently. It comes from the UK. It came in a pretty decent amount of time. They were back ordered when I bought it, so it did take but the communication was super great. He let me know, you know, he was waiting for something and about when it would be, and then got back to me again and said, okay, it's here. The communication was really good. The cost on this one, I cannot remember. I bought it used. They are very hard to find right now, but the designer of this one, whose name is Otto Strauch, had sold the company. The man who bought it passed away kind of unexpectedly, at least that's how it sounds. So Otto is currently working with another place called Celestial Farms, I believe, to make a new line of carders. Well, what kind of prep will it produce? Either of these will produce a lot of different preps. You can make bats, obviously, I just mentioned them. You can pull roving directly off, or you can pull a bat into roving. You can pull off the puni style roll legs directly off these carders. I think those are probably the main preps that we think of coming off a Drumcarder. So strengths, this will do a lot. I mean, they're both a bigger size. This is I think the biggest size that there were available of these. This is the biggest size available of these. I can do 4-ounce bat on here pretty comfortably. I would say I can do closer to 3 ounces on this one, and it's because the teeth are so fine that the wool doesn't really pack as tightly on there. I mostly use the Strauch for carding fleece that I have washed. Some blending, it depends on the fineness of the wool. And then for the classic, I will use it for anything. Those are kind of the strengths of them. You can do so much with these, and you can do a bigger amount at a time. You can do it with less wear and tear on like your elbows, your hands, all those things. So it's really nice for that reason. Oh, space for use and space for storage equal, because these are not the kind of thing that I have space to like put in a closet or something. I just don't. So they have to stay out all the time for me. Maybe that's not your situation, but you can see how big they actually are. For weakness, I would say they're expensive. I think that just makes sense because they pretty much all have to be built custom. You can't build them on an assembly line somewhere in a factory when, you know, you're probably only gonna sell a couple hundred to a couple thousand a year. It just doesn't work that way. And then also they take up a big amount of space. They're pretty heavy. They're not so easy to move around, take with you. I mean, although they're not impossible, portability wise, not as much. And the electric ones, even a little bit less, because you need to be able to plug it in. Thanks for joining me for my tour of my tools for prepping. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you all so much. I appreciate you letting me take a break and not making me feel bad. I don't want to go too deep into that because I feel like people give advice and think they understand without knowing the whole story, and I have no problem telling people stuff, telling people everything that's going on, but I'm not embarrassed or ashamed. I had to have a break. It had to happen. And I talked about it in the last live that one of the things, it's always been my MO as a person, when things get hard for me to handle, that I cut and run. I mean, I hate that about myself. It is embarrassing to admit to people, but it is something that I have done throughout my life so many times. Not with John, of course. We've been together almost 19 years now. It is my go-to way to deal with things. And so what I have learned, and I learned it from this channel and really from him, is that you don't quit. You take a break, you take a rest if you have to, you regroup, you know, do what you have to do to take care of yourself and be okay again, but you don't quit. So when something's good and it's worth it, you don't quit. So here we are. I am not quitting. I am here. I don't know when I'll need a break next. I didn't know about this one until it was like literally I was posting it on Facebook. Everything's wonderful. I hope those of you who are at Maryland Sheep and Wool had a wonderful time. I am a tiny bit jealous, but then again, the crowds looked crazy, so maybe only a tiny bit. Oh, you're all braver than me, I'll tell you that. I'm shipping. As soon as we're done here, I gotta pack some orders because ever since I had the sale last weekend, you all have been pretty, pretty steadily ordering from the shop. And also I am gonna get up and dye another, I don't know, 30 to 60 braids, I hope, this week. So hope keep checking back. And you know, I love your feedback. I appreciate it so much. I get so many, and I love when you post your haul on social media. That's so cool. Have a wonderful week. Take care of yourselves, please, and love yourself because nobody deserves it more than you. I will see you soon. Thanks. I love you. Bye.